This was a perfect true crime case. It had mystery, murder, sex, media obsession.
How do you feel about all these cameras pointed at you and all?
A quiet December morning in Modesto, California turned into a moment that would stay forever in American memory. The story begins with Laci Peterson, a 27-year-old woman who radiated warmth and joy, especially as she anticipated becoming a mother. Her smile lit up rooms, and her infectious laugh made everyone around her feel welcome. On December 24, 2002, the Peterson home sat decorated for Christmas, with presents wrapped under the tree. The morning started like any other. Laci planned to walk their golden retriever in the neighborhood and run some last-minute holiday errands. Her husband Scott reported seeing her preparing for these simple tasks before he left for a fishing trip at the Berkeley Marina. But Laci never completed her morning routine. She disappeared, leaving her family desperate for answers. The timing made the absence even more painful. Christmas Eve, when families gathered to share love and make memories. Instead, the Peterson family faced empty chairs at their holiday table and questions that would haunt them. The news spread through Modesto rapidly. Local police launched a search within hours of receiving the missing person report. Neighbors joined in, combing the streets where Laci usually walked. Her photo appeared on local news stations, then national broadcasts. America watched as search teams expanded their efforts, hoping to bring the expectant mother home. The investigation revealed layers of complexity beneath the surface of what seemed a perfect marriage. Scott Peterson's behavior drew increasing attention from both law enforcement and the media. His fishing trip story, his apparent calm demeanor, and discoveries about his personal life painted a picture that left many troubled. The nation followed every development. Viewers across America checked their televisions daily for updates. The case touched something deep in the public consciousness, perhaps because Laci represented the dream of family and motherhood, or perhaps because the mystery seemed impossible in a quiet California neighborhood. This story carries weight not just as a criminal investigation, but as a moment when American society confronted difficult questions about justice, truth, and the complexity of human relationships. Through careful examination of evidence, witness accounts, and the extensive trial that followed, we can better understand how this case changed the way we think about crime, media coverage, and the search for truth. Modesto, California, a peaceful city nestled in the heart of the San Joaquin Valley. Streets lined with modest homes, local businesses, and familiar faces created the backdrop for suburban life in the early 2000s. The community prided itself on its agricultural roots and close-knit neighborhoods where residents looked out for one another. Laci Peterson grew up in nearby Escalon, where she became known for her radiant smile and magnetic personality. Her childhood friends described her as the sunshine of their group, always ready with a laugh or a helping hand. She excelled in school and pursued her passion for ornamental horticulture at California Polytechnic State University. There, she met Scott Peterson at a local restaurant where they worked part-time. Their romance bloomed quickly. Scott, who studied agricultural business, caught Laci's attention with his quiet charm and ambitious plans. Friends observed their natural chemistry. Her vivacious spirit complemented his reserved nature. They married in 1997, hosting a beautiful ceremony that celebrated their shared dreams of building a life together. The young couple settled into married life in Modesto. They purchased a single-story home on Covina Avenue, where Laci devoted time to creating a perfect garden. She worked as a substitute teacher and later opened a specialty shop called The Good Earth, sharing her love for gardening with the community. Scott established himself in fertilizer sales, traveling frequently for his work. By 2002, Laci and Scott appeared to achieve many of their early dreams. Their home renovation projects neared completion. Scott's business provided steady income. Most precious of all, Laci carried their first child, a boy they planned to name Connor. She embraced pregnancy with characteristic enthusiasm, decorating the nursery and sharing ultrasound photos with family. Sharon Rocha, Laci's mother, spoke often of her daughter's joy during pregnancy. Laci glowed, she said. She talked about Connor constantly, making plans for his future. The baby's due date, February 10, 2003, couldn't arrive soon enough for the excited mother-to-be. The morning of December 24, 2002, began ordinarily enough. According to Scott's account, Laci planned to walk their golden retriever, Mackenzie, and then prepare for Christmas Eve celebrations with family. She wore black pants and a white long-sleeve shirt. The Christmas tree stood decorated, presents wrapped beneath it. Scott stated he would spend the day fishing at Berkeley Marina, about 90 miles away. Amy Rocha, Laci's sister, had seen the couple the previous evening at her salon. She cut Scott's hair, and they discussed their Christmas plans. Laci mentioned wanting to finish wrapping presents and doing some light cleaning before the holiday gatherings. Nothing suggested the tragedy approaching. The Peterson home showed signs of normal holiday preparations that morning. Partially mopped floors, a curling iron left out, breakfast dishes in the sink. The house awaited Laci's return to complete her Christmas Eve tasks. Her purse remained in the house, her keys present, her car parked in the driveway. Ron Gransky, Sharon Rocha's longtime companion, planned to golf with Scott the following day. The family anticipated gathering for their traditional Christmas celebration. Presents sat ready to exchange. Recipes waited to be prepared. And 8 months pregnant, Laci looked forward to her last Christmas before becoming a mother. These mundane details, a hair appointment, holiday preparations, everyday plans, would soon take on tremendous significance. The ordinary December morning marked the last time anyone saw Laci Peterson alive, transforming a peaceful suburban neighborhood into the center of a mystery that would grip the nation. The morning silence of December 24, 2002, shattered when Sharon Rocha received a phone call at 5:47 p.m. Scott Peterson's voice came through the line, asking if Laci was with her. Sharon's heart dropped. She hadn't seen or heard from her daughter all day. This marked the beginning of a search that would consume the nation's attention. The last reported sighting of Laci came from a neighbor who noticed her walking Mackenzie, the family's golden retriever, around the La Loma neighborhood. She wore black pants and a white long-sleeved shirt, her 8-month pregnant form distinctive. The morning air was crisp, typical for a California winter day. By early evening, the Peterson home buzzed with worried family members. Ron Gransky, Laci's stepfather, called the Modesto Police Department at 6 p.m. to report her missing. Officers arrived within 30 minutes, beginning their initial assessment. They found the house in a state suggesting interrupted Christmas preparations, a half-mopped floor, decorations mid-arrangement, Laci's purse and keys still present. Scott told police he had spent the day fishing at Berkeley Marina, leaving around 9:30 a.m. He showed them his fishing receipt and described trying to catch sturgeon. Upon returning home and finding Laci absent, he said he assumed she was at her mother's house. The dog had returned home alone, leash still attached. The police response intensified rapidly. Detective Al Brocchini arrived at the Peterson home by 9 p.m., noting Scott's wet clothes from the fishing trip and his general demeanor. The detective later testified about Scott's unusual calm during these crucial early hours. As Christmas Day dawned, search efforts expanded dramatically. The Modesto Police Department mobilized their resources, establishing a command center. Volunteers gathered in unprecedented numbers. Over 1,000 people showed up within days to help search local parks, neighborhoods, and waterways. Media attention exploded. Local news stations broadcast live from Modesto. Their coverage soon picked up by national networks. Laci's photograph, showing her beautiful smile and prominent pregnancy, appeared on screens across America. The story of a missing mother-to-be, vanishing on Christmas Eve, captured public imagination and sympathy. The searching continued through January 2003. Police dogs scoured the area. Divers examined local waterways. Helicopters surveyed from above. Missing person posters appeared throughout California. A reward fund grew to $500,000. The FBI joined the investigation, bringing additional resources and expertise. Detective Craig Grogan led the investigation. He coordinated with multiple agencies, managed thousands of tips, and directed surveillance operations. The police interviewed hundreds of witnesses, gathered security footage, and analyzed cell phone records. Then came April 13, 2003. A woman walking her dog along the Richmond shoreline of San Francisco Bay discovered a male fetus. The next day, a decomposed body appeared nearby. DNA testing confirmed the worst fears. These were the remains of Connor and Laci Peterson. The locations proved significant. The body surfaced less than 2 miles from Berkeley Marina, where Scott claimed to have gone fishing the day Laci disappeared. The timing of the discoveries coincided with strong tidal movements in the bay, which investigators believed had finally brought the remains to shore. Medical examiners worked meticulously to determine cause of death. The condition of the remains made this task extremely difficult. They found no obvious traumatic injuries, but the advanced decomposition limited their conclusions. The examination of Connor's body indicated he had remained in utero until death. The discovery transformed the missing person case into a homicide investigation. Police focused their attention on establishing a timeline for December 24th, analyzing physical evidence from the bay, and examining witness statements with renewed scrutiny. Each piece of evidence now carried potential significance in understanding how a pregnant woman vanished from her quiet neighborhood and ended up in San Francisco Bay. The Modesto Police Department launched their investigation within hours of Laci's reported disappearance. Detective Al Brocchini conducted the initial interviews at the Peterson home on Christmas Eve, speaking with Scott Peterson and gathered family members. The house became an immediate point of examination. Investigators noted the everyday signs of life frozen in time: holiday decorations, wrapped presents, and Laci's personal belongings untouched. Officers spread through the neighborhood, knocking on doors and gathering statements. Neighbors reported seeing Laci walking her golden retriever that morning, matching Scott's account that she planned to take the dog out before finishing her Christmas preparations. The dog returned home alone with the leash still attached, prompting questions about what occurred during that morning walk. Scott Peterson's alibi centered on his fishing trip to Berkeley Marina. He provided receipts showing his boat launch and described attempting to catch sturgeon. Police found this explanation notable: a solo fishing expedition on Christmas Eve, 90 miles from home, leaving his heavily pregnant wife alone. Detective Craig Grogan ordered surveillance of the marina area and began gathering security camera footage from businesses along Scott's claimed route. The media arrived quickly. Local news stations set up outside the Peterson home, broadcasting regular updates. National networks picked up the story, drawn by the compelling elements: a beautiful expectant mother missing on Christmas Eve, a comfortable suburban setting, a seemingly perfect marriage. Gloria Gomez of KOVR-TV conducted one of the first interviews with Scott Peterson, during which viewers noticed his use of past tense when discussing Laci. January 2003 brought a startling revelation. Amber Fry, a massage therapist from Fresno, contacted police after recognizing Scott Peterson from news coverage. She revealed a romantic relationship with Scott that began in November 2002. Scott had told her he was single, and they spent time together in the weeks leading up to Laci's disappearance. This information shifted the investigation's direction dramatically. Amber Fry agreed to cooperate with law enforcement. She allowed police to record her phone conversations with Scott, accumulating nearly 300 calls. These recordings captured Scott creating elaborate lies about his whereabouts, discussing his future plans, and showing little concern for his missing wife. He called Amber mere minutes after attending candlelight vigils for Laci. Financial investigations revealed concerning patterns. Detectives discovered Scott had researched Bay Currents and bought a boat in cash. He had taken out a $250,000 life insurance policy on Laci. In the weeks following her disappearance, he inquired about selling their home and her car. Bank records showed unusual cash withdrawals and purchases. The forensic examination of the recovered bodies provided crucial evidence. Medical examiners determined that baby Connor's body showed no signs of physical removal from the womb, suggesting Laci died while still pregnant. The advanced decomposition aligned with exposure to water since December. Investigators found tape residue and marks indicating the bodies may have been weighted down. Police surveillance tracked Scott's movements continuously. They observed him making multiple trips to the marina, where he claimed to have fished, watching the waters in what appeared to be checks on the location. He sold Laci's Land Rover and used the money to purchase a new truck, which he registered in his mother's name. The investigation culminated in April 2003 near San Diego. Scott had changed his appearance, dyeing his hair blonde and growing a goatee. Police found him carrying $15,000 in cash, camping equipment, multiple cell phones, and his brother's driver's license. His newly purchased Mercedes contained survival gear and Mexican currency. This discovery led to his immediate arrest. The Modesto Police Department's case file grew to contain thousands of pages. They had conducted over 3,000 interviews and managed 10,000 tips. The search operation became one of the largest in California history, involving multiple agencies and hundreds of personnel. Every lead required documentation. Every piece of evidence needed careful handling to maintain its integrity for potential prosecution. San Diego law enforcement officers spotted Scott Peterson on April 18, 2003, driving his Mercedes near Torrey Pines Golf Course. His appearance had changed dramatically, his dark hair now blonde, his face sporting a goatee. Inside his car, officers found $15,000 in cash for cell phones, camping gear, and documents, including his brother's identification. The Mexican border stood just miles away. Police transported Scott back to Stanislaus County, where prosecutors charged him with 2 counts of first-degree murder, one for Laci Peterson and one for their unborn son, Connor. District Attorney James Brazelton announced his office would seek the death penalty. The trial began on June 1, 2004 in Redwood City, California. Judge Alfred A. DeLucci presided over proceedings that would captivate the nation. Lead prosecutor Rick DeStaso presented the state's case, supported by Senior Deputy District Attorney Dave Harris. Mark Garagos led the defense team, known for representing high-profile clients. Prosecutors built their case methodically. They highlighted Scott's suspicious behavior following Laci's disappearance, his apparent lack of emotion, his sale of Laci's car, his romantic relationship with Amber Fry. The jury learned of his purchases: a boat bought with cash, fishing equipment acquired just before Christmas, and the survival gear found during his arrest. Amber Fray's testimony proved particularly powerful. She spent days on the witness stand, describing her relationship with Scott and playing recorded phone conversations. The recordings revealed Scott's lies. He claimed to be in Paris when he attended a candlelight vigil for Laci. He spoke of a future with Amber while search teams looked for his wife. Forensic experts testified about the condition of the recovered bodies. They explained how tidal patterns in San Francisco Bay matched the timing and location of the discoveries. The prosecution presented evidence suggesting the bodies had been weighted down with homemade concrete anchors. Detective Craig Grogan detailed the extensive investigation. He described tracking Scott's movements, analyzing cell phone records, and gathering evidence from Berkeley Marina. The jury saw surveillance footage, examined financial records, and heard from witnesses who encountered Scott in the days surrounding Laci's disappearance. The defense team argued for Scott's innocence. They suggested the police rush to judgment, ignoring other potential suspects. Garagos presented theories about a satanic cult and questioned the reliability of neighbor testimony. He emphasized the lack of physical evidence directly linking Scott to the murders. Media coverage reached unprecedented levels. Television networks provided daily updates. Crowds gathered outside the courthouse. Commentators analyzed every aspect of the trial. The case sparked debates about media influence on criminal proceedings. The jury deliberated for 7 days. On November 12, 2004, they returned their verdict, guilty on all counts. The announcement brought tears and emotional outbursts in the courtroom. Laci's family embraced. Scott showed no visible reaction. The penalty phase began November 30th, 2004. Sharon Rocha delivered powerful testimony about losing her daughter and grandson. She spoke directly to Scott, expressing her pain and anger. The defense presented character witnesses and argued against the death penalty. On December 13, 2004, the jury recommended death. Judge DeLucci formally sentenced Scott Peterson to death by lethal injection on March 16, 2005. He remains on death row at San Quentin State Prison, continuing his appeals process. The case changed California law. The state legislature passed the Laci and Connors Law, making it a crime to harm a fetus during an attack on a pregnant woman. Similar federal legislation followed. Today, the Peterson case stands as one of America's most famous criminal trials. Books, documentaries, and television specials continue examining the evidence and circumstances. The story serves as a reminder of how a seemingly perfect life can mask deep secrets, and how justice relies on careful investigation and prosecution. The streets of Modesto changed after Laci Peterson's murder. Neighbors who once left doors unlocked began installing security systems. The comfortable sense of safety in this California community dissolved. Parents watched their children more closely. The parks where search teams once gathered became permanent reminders of tragedy. Media coverage transformed Modesto into a symbol, a place where terrible things could happen in the most ordinary settings. Television crews camped outside the courthouse for months. Local residents found their quiet town scrutinized by national news organizations. Reporters interviewed shop owners, parsed neighborhood gossip, studied local geography. The case sparked conversations about domestic violence hidden beneath suburban appearances. Organizations supporting pregnant women saw increased calls for help. Police departments across the country updated their protocols for handling missing persons cases involving expectant mothers. Gloria Allred, who represented Amber Fry, spoke about how the case highlighted issues of betrayal and deception in relationships. Fray's cooperation with law enforcement became a model for witness participation in high-profile investigations. Her recorded conversations with Scott Peterson provided prosecutors with crucial evidence of his character and behavior. Questions linger about Scott Peterson's exact movements on December 24, 2002. The prosecution never established a definitive timeline for Laci's murder. No murder weapon surfaced. The method of transporting her body to San Francisco Bay remains unknown. These gaps feed ongoing discussions among legal experts and true crime researchers. The role of media coverage raised serious questions about fair trials in the digital age. Cable news channels provided round-the-clock coverage. Newspapers published daily updates. Internet forums buzzed with theories and debates. This constant attention pressured both prosecution and defense teams, shaped public opinion, and possibly influenced potential jurors. Sharon Rocha, Laci's mother, became an advocate for victims' rights. She supported legislation protecting pregnant women and spoke about domestic violence prevention. Her book, For Laci, shared intimate details of her daughter's life and the family's search for justice. The Peterson case changed how Americans view missing persons investigations. Law enforcement agencies now pay special attention when pregnant women disappear. The public learned about cell phone tracking, forensic evidence analysis, and the significance of behavioral clues in criminal cases. Scott Peterson maintains his innocence from death row. His legal team continues filing appeals, arguing procedural issues, and questioning evidence handling. Each new court filing draws media attention and reopens public debate about his guilt. The waters of San Francisco Bay hold secrets that may never surface. Boats still pass Berkeley Marina, where Scott Peterson launched his fishing trip. Visitors to the Richmond shoreline might pause, thinking about the discoveries made there in April 2003. Modern true crime documentaries study this case, finding new angles to explore. Journalists interview retired detectives, review old evidence, search for missed clues. Books propose alternative theories. Podcasts dissect trial testimony. The story continues fascinating new audiences. The quiet neighborhood on Covina Avenue stands as a memorial to lives lost. Laci's garden, once tended with love, reminds passers-by of her passion for beauty and growth. The house where Christmas presents sat wrapped, waiting for a celebration that never came, tells a story of dreams destroyed. 2 decades later, people still discuss this case in living rooms across America. They ask why a man would kill his pregnant wife, how someone could appear normal while planning such acts, what signs friends and family might have missed. The answers remain elusive, leaving us to consider what truth and justice mean in our modern world. Did the jury reach the right verdict? What motivated Scott Peterson's actions? How many similar stories go undiscovered in quiet neighborhoods across America? These questions invite us to examine our own communities, relationships, and assumptions about human nature.